She was the girl every man in Surulere whispered about. He was the quiet clerk who paid her hair bill without blinking. It looked like love at first sight. But when desire is fed by money and love is measured by sacrifice, someone always bleeds. What began in a salon doorway ended in blood money, betrayal, and a price that could never be undone.
Monica was the kind of beauty that turned heads without effort. Her skin glowed, her smile lit rooms, and her laughter carried a lightness that made people feel the world was kinder than it truly was. In their bustling neighborhood in Surulere, everyone knew her name. When she walked past the market stalls or down the dusty streets, traders would pause and whisper, "That one is a rare gem." The day she met Richard, Monica was seated inside a small hair salon on the corner, her new braids almost finished as the afternoon sun filtered through the open doorway. Richard had come in to greet a friend who worked there, but the moment his eyes met Monica's, everything else faded. Their eyes met across the narrow room and something sparked, sharp, sudden, undeniable. It was love at first sight, or at least that is how it felt. Richard, a quiet young man who worked as a clerk in a small company, did not hesitate. When Monica reached for her purse to pay the stylist, he stepped forward and settled the bill himself. Monica looked at him then, really looked, and saw kindness in his eyes, generosity in his gesture. In that instant, she decided this was the kind of man she wanted. Someone who would spend on her, who would make her feel cherished, who would turn her dreams into gifts she could touch and wear. She gave him a chance. As the months passed, Richard's feelings deepened. He loved Monica with a devotion that bordered on obsession. Richard would skip meals for days to save enough money for the expensive Brazilian wigs Monica admired in shop windows. He would come home with bags of assorted meats, whole chickens, and exotic fruits, even when his salary barely covered rent and transport. Monica accepted it all with delighted smiles, calling him my king, tracing her fingers over the gifts as though they were proof of his love. But love, even true love, has limits. One evening, Monica sat Richard down in their small rented room. "Richard," she said softly, "I want to go to university. I want to study nursing. You know it's been my dream." Richard's face tightened. He loved her dreams, but money was tight. His salary was meager, and every extra kobo already went towards making her happy. "My love," he said carefully, "I want that for you more than anything. But right now things are hard. I'm still managing. Let us wait a little until I get a better job, until things improve." Monica's expression changed. Her voice turned cold. "Wait? How long must I wait? Desmond has been talking to me, you know. He drives a nice car. He says he'll pay my fees tomorrow if I want. He doesn't make me wait for anything." The name Desmond struck Richard like a slap. Desmond was one of the flashiest young men in the area, always in sharp clothes, always with cash in hand, always surrounded by laughter and admiration. Richard dropped to his knees in front of her, his hands trembling as he held hers. "Please, Monica, don't leave me. I love you more than life. I'll find a way. Just give me time. I'll think of something. I promise." Monica looked down at him, her eyes unreadable. She pulled her hands away gently and stood. "You have 1 month, she said quietly. 1 month to show me you mean it, or I walk." That night, Richard could not sleep. He lay staring at the ceiling while Monica slept beside him, her breathing soft and even. His mind raced. He had no savings left. His family could not help. A bank loan would take too long and demand collateral he did not have. Richard found an easier way to keep Monica, to prove his love beyond doubt. The following morning, before the sun had fully arisen over Surulere, Richard hurried to the nearby office of LATO, the Loan and Tears Organization, as people bitterly called it. The building was grey and unwelcoming, its sign faded from years of rain. Inside, the air smelled of old paper and desperation. Richard signed the forms with a trembling hand. He offered the only thing he had left, the papers for his late father's small plot of land in the village. It was not enough to cover the huge sum he needed, but the agent shrugged and accepted it anyway, muttering about short-term repayment. Richard promised to pay everything back within months. The money, thick bundles of cash, was handed over. That same day, he took it all straight to Monica. Her eyes widened when she saw the notes. Joy spread across her face like sunrise. She threw her arms around him. "I knew you would do anything for me," she whispered. Richard held her tightly. "I don't want to lose you to anybody," he said, his voice thick with emotion. Monica smiled up at him. "As long as you keep taking care of my needs, I will be yours forever." They hugged for a long time, and for a moment, Richard felt that everything would be worth it. With the money, Monica gained admission to a private university on the mainland. She moved into a hostel, bought new clothes, and quickly found her place among the lively crowd of wealthy students.
Parties, outings, new friends. Her life became a whirl of excitement. At first, she still called Richard every evening. Then the calls grew shorter. Then they stopped altogether. When Richard rang, her phone would ring out, or she would let it go to voicemail. Richard waited. He told himself she was busy with studies, but days turned into weeks and still no word. He began to fear the worst. Meanwhile, the loan agent from Lato started calling. Morning, afternoon, night. Their voices sharp and impatient. "Where is our money? You promised short term. Don't play with us." Richard had nothing to give them. His salary disappeared into daily survival. Lato's threats grew darker. Richard immediately switched to another SIM card, thinking he had won. Then one morning, as Richard walked to work, he saw his own face staring back at him from posters plastered on walls and electric poles throughout the neighborhood. "Wanted," the bold letters read. Beneath his photograph, Richard Okafor, defaulter. And worse, on some corners, fake obituary posters had been pasted, celebrating the life of Richard Okafor, dead but still owing. People stared as he passed. Some whispered. Others crossed the road to avoid him. That evening, alone in his empty room, Richard sat on the edge of the bed with his head in his hands. The woman he had sacrificed everything for had vanished into her new world. The lenders were closing in like wolves. His name was ruined. His future felt buried. And then came a quiet knock at the door. Richard froze. Through the thin wood, a low voice called his name, not angry, not threatening, but calm, familiar. "Richard? Richard? Richard, if you are still alive, please open the door." Richard opened the door with trembling hands. He was shocked to see Odogu Chukwudi standing there. Odogu Chukwudi was startled. "How come you are still alive?" he asked. "Your obituary is placed everywhere." Tears rolled down Richard's eyes. He tried to speak, but at the end, all he could say was, "Odogu, please help me." Chukwudi looked at him with pity and asked, "Are you ready to follow me to my mentors?" Richard blinked in hope and quickly said, "Even if you want us to go now, I'm ready." Odogun Chukwudi replied, "Then go inside and change. Let's be on our way." Richard dashed in, quickly changed and joined Odogun Chukwudi in his car. When they arrived at their destination, a house that stank of wealth and was adorned in gold, they went inside. While seated, Chukwudi spoke to two men he called mentors. "My friend needs help," he said. One of the mentors looked at them for a long while and finally asked, "I hope your friend will do whatever is demanded of him." Richard did not even allow Chukwudi to speak for him. He interrupted at once. Yes, he said. "I will do anything, just anything to change my condition." Both men laughed, then suddenly became serious. One of the mentors said,
You, Richard, will wait here till midnight and your fate will be decided. Chukwudi comforted him and said he should be a man as he left the room. Richard sat alone in the large room with the weight of those words pressing down on him. The clock on the wall ticked slowly towards midnight, each sound louder than the last. He waited, heart racing, wondering what would be demanded of him when the hour finally came. Midnight closed in. The mentors led Richard into another room. It was dark, lit only by red candles that flickered in the corners. Richard was told to remove his clothes and wear only a plain wrapper, just as the mentors themselves were dressed. Then, he was asked to kneel inside a circle drawn on the floor with white chalk. The mentors began to chant. Their voices were low and rhythmic, heavy with the weight of dark magic. From nowhere, a giant tortoise appeared. It moved slowly, circling Richard 3 times before vanishing as suddenly as it had come. The mentors looked at him. "Count yourself lucky," one said. "The great tortoise saw potential in you." They paused, then continued. "The next phase of the ritual will cost you something. It will take something from you, but in return, you shall be rewarded greatly." Richard did not care about the cost. All he wanted was money, enough to end his poverty, to clear the shame that Lato had spread across the neighborhood. At that moment, an old woman entered the room. She was very old, her skin covered in deep wrinkles. She walked silently to the center of the room and lay down on a red wrapper spread across the floor. "Richard," one mentor said coldly, "you will perform an act that will seal the covenant. The ritual will demand intimacy beyond your comfort." Richard's eyes widened in terror. "You mean I should," he stammered. The mentors only laughed quietly and turned their backs on him. The sight of the old woman filled Richard with horror. He did not know what to do or where to begin. He had reached a point of no return.
At last, shame burning through him, Richard obeyed. What followed was an act that stripped him of dignity, faith, and manhood. When it was over, he collapsed to the floor, completely drained, knowing something irreversible had been taken from him. The mysterious old woman stood and left the room without a word. Richard lay there in the dim red light, breathing heavily, knowing that whatever had been taken from him could never be given back, and that the reward, whatever it might be, was now only moments away. Moments later, the mentors congratulated Richard. One of them spoke calmly. "Unlike us, who had to sacrifice our beloved ones and many others, you are lucky. Your only sacrifice is that you will not be able to father a child." Richard was unsure whether to celebrate or cry. He remained quiet. After all, he thought, money solves all problems. A few years passed and Richard's status changed. He became mysteriously rich overnight. He attended VIP functions with his shoulders held high, surrounded by important men who answered to him. Richard tested his faith repeatedly, seeking proof that the sacrifice was real. He stayed indoor, taking turns with desperate ladies, but at the end of the month, nothing came of it. The truth became undeniable. It was at one of those VIP functions he saw Monica, a graduate by that time. She was with her new man, laughing in a sparkling dress. When her eyes met Richard's, her spirit almost left her body. She stared, unable to believe what she saw. Could this be Richard? Richard is now rich? She muttered under her breath. When Richard stood up exchanging pleasantries with men of class and caliber, Monica forgot the man beside her and rushed towards Richard. "Hey, Rich, my Richard," she called. Richard turned and looked at her. He was dazed. Monica threw her arms around him, hugging him tightly, and planted a deep kiss on his lips. That was all it took to activate Richard's old feelings, the Momo button she had always known how to press. They moved to a quiet corner to talk.
Monica spoke quickly, blaming him the whole time. "You stopped calling me. You didn't bother to ask about me. You didn't even try to prove your love." Richard only smiled sheepishly. Inside, he was torn. He did not know whether this was the right moment to fall under her spell again or to finally seek revenge. He looked into her familiar eyes, feeling the old pull, and wondered which path he would choose. Richard pulled a sleek address card from his wallet and handed it to Monica. "That's where I live," he said quietly. "Don't hesitate to visit me tomorrow." Monica took the card, happiness written all over her face. She clutched it tightly as they parted that night. When Monica reached her small one-room apartment, she sat on the edge of her bed in silence, her mind turned over and over. Richard was now very rich, a true VIP. She had to win him back. She would marry him at all costs. The next day, Monica arrived at the address on the card. Richard welcomed her as if he were under a spell. He showered her with affection, presented her with one of his expensive cars. In the midst of her excitement, Richard suddenly reached into his pocket. He drew out an expensive diamond ring, dropped to one knee, and looked up at her. "Monica," he said, voice steady, "will you marry me?" Monica did not hesitate. "Yes, yes, yes," she cried. "I will marry you. In fact, I am going home now to pack all my belongings and bring them here to your house." Richard smiled as he slipped the ring on her finger, but deep inside, a quiet question lingered, one only he could hear. Monica hugged him fiercely, her eyes shining with triumph. It did not take long for Richard and Monica to get married. The ceremony was simple but elegant, held in a quiet garden with close friends and family. Soon after, they settled into married life as husband and wife in Richard's grand mansion. To the outside world, they seemed deeply in love. They spent carefree days playing at the beach, splashing in the waves and building sandcastles. In the evenings, they visited their favorite suya joint, feeding each other tender pieces of grilled meat under the stars, laughing as the spicy flavors made their lips tingle. Richard's old friends, who knew the full story of Monica's past betrayal and the pain she had caused him, could hardly believe the news. One shook his head in disbelief when he heard the news. After all he went through, how could he marry her? Yet, amidst all this affection, Monica never became pregnant. At first, she did not worry about it, enjoying the freedom and luxury of their life together. But as months turned into years, doubt crept in. She started taking fertility medication and began to wonder if the problem lay with her, perhaps linked to some complicated relationship she had during her university years, especially those influenced by wealthy admirers.
She had never been an exceptional nursing student, but she knew enough to deal with her past mistakes quietly, doing everything she could to keep her secrets buried. Convinced she had already settled her past, she believed she could not be the cause of the problem. One day, she turned to Richard with concern in her eyes. "We need to see a doctor," she said. "Something isn't right." They visited a specialist together. After tests and examinations, the doctor assured them both were perfectly fine. No issues were discovered. But still, why was Monica not getting pregnant? Standing alone in the bathroom, Monica stared at her reflection. What if the problem was truly hers? What if all those years of taking care of mistakes had finally caught up with her? Fear tightened her chest. She could not imagine a life where Richard's wealth passed to no one. If getting pregnant was the key to securing her future, then morality could wait. Survival came first. Otherwise, who will inherit his money, his mansion, and his businesses? In that moment, she made up her mind to do something unimaginable, something unbelievable that would change everything forever. Monica waited carefully for the time when her body told her it was ovulation, when the familiar itch and sensitivity confirmed she was most fertile. She turned to Richard one night, her smile sweet and convincing.
"I need to visit my aunt in Ikeja," she said. "I'll be back in 2 days." Richard offered his personal driver. "Let him take you, it's safer." Monica laughed lightly. "Why bother the driver when I can drive myself?" Richard studied her for a moment but did not push further. He simply nodded. The next morning, Monica drove out of the compound in one of the cars Richard had gifted her. Instead of heading to Ikeja, she went straight to the house of Obilo, an ex-boyfriend she had never fully cut ties with. For 2 full days, she renewed what she quietly called her contract in the Ministry of Pleasure. It was fun for her, carefree, exciting, without worry. She called Richard at intervals, chatting brightly, asking about his day, sending loving messages, making sure no suspicion crept in. When she returned home, she flew into Richard's arms, all lovey-dovey, spinning tales of family gossip and laughter at her aunt's place, stories that had never happened. Richard listened. He stared at her for a long moment and then smiled quietly. A few weeks later, Monica began to feel unwell. She bought a test kit and the result was clear, positive. She stared at the stick, heart racing. She could not believe her eyes, but she knew exactly how it had happened. Still, she had to pretend. She ran to Richard in the sitting room, eyes wide with rehearsed joy. "My love," she shouted, throwing her arms around him. "You are going to be a father." Richard held her, but his reaction was strange. Neither full celebration nor tears of happiness. He simply looked at her, a quiet shadow crossing his face. Richard burst out laughing, a sound that echoed coldly through the room. "Monica, how can you be pregnant for me when I know I cannot father a child?" His laughter stopped as suddenly as it had begun. His face hardened and he pointed directly at her. "Did you think I married you out of love? No, no." Monica stared at him, stunned. Richard's voice grew sharper. "I married you so you would suffer the fate of childlessness with me. I did not want to walk this path alone, and you are the one responsible for putting me on it." Monica's anger flared. "So you knew you could not become a father, yet you married me for what exactly?" Richard's eyes did not waver. "Are you not enjoying the money, the fine food, the luxuries I have provided?" He leaned closer. "I am rich today because I used my manhood for blood money. Yes, you heard me right." Monica's face twisted in shock. Richard continued, his words cutting deeper. "Do you think it was coincidence that I met you again at that event after so long? No, I followed you there. I knew the moment you saw money written all over me, you would fall again." He sneered. Monica's rage exploded. With all her strength, she pushed Richard hard. He stumbled backwards, his head striking the sharp edge of the wall. He collapsed on the tiled floor, unconscious. Breathing heavily, Monica stormed into the kitchen. When she returned, reason had left her. What followed was an explosion of blind rage that changed everything forever. Then she dropped the stick, ran from the mansion and hid at a friend's house. Later that day, one of Richard's friends grew worried after repeated unanswered calls. He forced his way into the mansion and found Richard on the floor, unmoving. An ambulance rushed him to the hospital, but no one ever learned whether he lived or died. A few weeks later, Monica was in her friend's house watching TV when a faint scratching sound echoed in the room. From the ceiling, a dark shape dropped to the floor.
Then another and another. Scorpions. They scattered across the tiles, their tiny legs clicking softly as they crawled forward, spreading like a living shadow. As if Monica was hypnotized, scorpions brushed against Monica's legs. She looked down, her breath caught. A scream tore from her throat. Moments later, the room fell eerily silent. The scorpions retreated, disappearing into cracks and corners, leaving nothing behind but stillness. What remained of Monica lay motionless, only a silent skeleton, untouched, as though life itself had been quietly reclaimed. No one dared approach. Neighbors stood at a distance, frozen in horror. Then Richard's mentors arrived. Calmly, they looked at the scene. "This belongs to us," one said quietly. They claimed what was left, and Monica's story ended there.